Hello, and welcome to the lore of Braunhaven. Today we're going to be talking about Reef's End. So, the village of Reef's End sits just a short distance north of the Imperial Port. And in fact, there is a road, Reefer's Road, that connects from the village to the northern side of the north gate of the High District. And in years past, there was I wouldn't say a lot of traffic, but there was a fair amount of traffic, usually in the form of produce that was coming from the farms. There are several farms that you would pass through on either side of Reefer's Road as you would head to Reef's End, and then, of course, on the north end of the village as the road leaves Reef's End. Reef's End wouldn't really be notable at all. It's not even a mile and a half in size. It would be a complete afterthought to most of history, if not for two things. The number one and most important fact is that Reef's End is the birthplace of Maximillian Tasidantilis. And so that kind of secured it in the history books. Although it's, other than possible tourism, there's really no reason that anybody would want to necessarily go there. The other reason that it is notable is that initially it was considered for a location for the building of the Imperial Port. However, it was deemed not suitable. And the reason that it was not suitable is that Reef's End sits right on the coast, right off the edge of a extinct coral reef. Now, and the coral reef is particularly important to Reef's End, but we'll come to that in but a moment. So the Reef's End is basically just a fishing village. They have very little else going for them. The people of Reef's End tend to be reclusive and have gotten more so in the recent years. They import very few items. Most of the stuff is stuff that they make themselves. But they do have tended to import luxury items over the past several years. But that seems to have dwindled somewhat. They have just kind of grown more and more insular and not wanting to really deal with outsiders. Talking to some of the locals, especially around the farmsteads, they will tell you that there is some kind of problem, some kind of issue going on with the village of Reef's End, and yet nobody seems to be really sure of exactly what it is. But mostly, this problem seems to be that children of the village tend to go missing. There is a high rate of adolescent children that seem to be just vanishing overnight, and some of those children that seem to be vanishing, they are either outright, they just disappear, which may not be completely out of the norm, considering that Reef's End is towards the north end, and heading towards the northwestern side of the Skelos Mountains. So that could be attributed to dangerous wildlife, possibly. But it seems high enough that it is above the average that most people would expect for that kind of area. The other children that have gone missing, as well as a few adults, it seems that the parents are choosing to send the children away, and these children will usually, and this is in both cases, the children will be gone for, they will be missing for a week or two, and then they will return to the village, and everybody acts like nothing is out of the ordinary. They come back and they resume their lives, and nobody seems to speak further of it. And if there is somebody that speaks further of it or questions it, those people tend to disappear permanently. They just tend to go away. So the farmers will say that they try. I mean, they don't have a choice but to sell their produce if they want to make any money. And Reef's End, of course, is a market for them to do so, along with the high district of the imperial port. And so the farmers deal with them only in the capacity that they will sell them their produce, but they are fearful, and they tend to stay away. And the biggest fear that the farmers have is that whatever is going on in Reef's End is going to spread. There's a much more overt threat to Reef's End, and that comes in the form of what is going on with the coral reef. So at the end of the coral reef, there is a colony of Sahuagin, and on the ocean floor at the end of the coral reef, they have built some domed structures, you know, fortresses that consist of about 150 individuals. Right now, the colony is ruled by Baron Logbit, and Logbit is old. He's getting a bit long in the fin, and it is on everybody's mind that at his advanced age, which is strange for Sahuagin that anybody would become advanced age, uh, but it is assumed that he's going to kick the proverbial chum bucket, and there is concern about who is going to take over, and the priestesses have already started to prepare for that eventuality. And what that preparation involves, of course, is trials by combat, and whoever's left standing is the one that is going to be crowned the new Baron. Um, there are several contenders, but the current bets are being placed on Kotris, who is Logbit's son. And he is not quite as I don't, I guess benign isn't the word. He's a little bit more violent and overt than his father. Logbit has essentially done a few minor nighttime raids on the town or the village of Reef's End, and this is mostly to just kind of uh, take what they want, and it's kind of a constant reminder to the people of Reef's End that they are still there and that the Sahuagin hate them. But Kotris is more likely to take this to the extreme, and if he becomes Baron of the Sahuagin, it's very likely that Kotris is just going to lead forces in one night and burn Reef's End to the ground entirely, and be done with the filthy humans that are inhabiting the land. Um, you know, the Sahuagin are devout followers of the drowned child, and they are, of course, going to hate human beings. And pretty much every other land-dwelling race. They don't like anybody. One of the rumors going around is that Reef's End is the the continent over here in the Glaucian Empire. It is a rumor that Reef's End is the headquarters of the cult of the drowned child. Nobody can really confirm that, because anybody that really could seems to disappear. And so that's one of the few rumors that will float around the Imperial Port, especially in the Docks District. Um, is a rumor that this is the headquarters, which would be unfortunate because, as I stated, this was the birthplace of Tasidantilis, and so you know, that would be unfortunate if that were the case. The map here, there are a number of marked buildings. These, of course, are farmsteads that you will pass on either side of Reefers Road in and out of the town. There is an inn, the Salty Oyster. It is run by Mira Osbender and her husband, John. They had two daughters, Celine and Nancy, but Celine went missing recently, and Nancy died of the flu last season. And so, Mira tends to be prone to emotional mood swings. And John is just trying to console his wife and make ends meet, which an inn in Reef's End is going to be difficult to make ends meet. There's just not that many travelers that come through. There is claims that the Salty Oyster offers some of the best clam chowder available, and they do have a pot of clam chowder simmering over the fire, available all day for 1 silver piece. They Number 3 here is the Burgermeister's Manor. So Reef's End is run by a Burgermeister, even though it's not really a full town. Like I said, it is a village, but maybe they had delusions of grandeur at one time, and so now they have appointed a Burgermeister. It is a rather nondescript manor house. It's not. I mean, yes, it's a manor house, but it is not particularly fantastic or richly appointed. The current burgermeister of the village is Catherine Smolinski, and the only real finery that would be attributed to the post of burgermeister is that Catherine can be seen walking around, usually bundled up in a heavily wolf-furred coat and or cloak, and that's pretty much the only fine item that the burgermeister owns, really. Number 4 up here is Crawford's General Goods, and that's run by Brant Crawford. He has most of the common adventuring gear items that would be found in the Advanced Player's Tome or in Carcass Crawler number 3. And he is currently trying to... He's running big sale. Basically, it's a fire sale. He's liquidating all his stock at bare bottom prices, although he still has to make something because Brant has decided that he wants to get out of the village and move on. He has a lot of suspicions about what is going on in Reef's End, although he won't openly talk about it. And he's willing to sell everything that isn't nailed down, and possibly he'll get a hammer and pull up the things that are nailed down just so that he can make enough money and get out of town. He has recently had an encounter with his nephew that had been missing for several months and who just suddenly returned to Reef's End. And some of the farmers around the village believe that this encounter with his nephew may have been the reason that Brant wants to pack up and move on. But nobody knows for sure except for Brant. Number 5 is Sholey's Stable. This was at one time this was run by the Sholey family, but there's very few Sholey family members left. So there's Marcus Sholey and his 2 sons, Kendon and Rex, and they operate the shop on most days, although they do hire some of the other villagers to attend to the shop and to the stables. But it seems that the 3 of them, the Sholeys, tend to be missing or away from the stables quite often. And nobody knows exactly sure where they're going or what it is that they're doing. But they do have basic stabling and fodder for horses and other animals. They offer shoeing of horses. There is a small blacksmith there. Very basic things. The 2 6s here are the north and south lighthouses. And their job essentially is to make sure that there is a light lit for ships or even fishing boats, so that they can avoid crashing on this coral reef. They're they're very basic affairs. They have mirrors and a magnifying glass at the top, and essentially a lantern that is lit, and they light it at night. And they used to be fairly operational. Now it seems that the mirrors and the lenses of the lighthouse tend to be fairly grimy and filthy, and it doesn't seem like people are really taking the pride that they should in running these lighthouses. So it is a danger to be making your way up to reefs and to either the north or south docks, if there is fog or it is nighttime. That can be a dangerous affair, especially if you're a novice ship's pilot. Number 7 is probably the most famous place in town. It is the birthplace of Maximillian Tasidantilis. It is said that that there are notes kept from his or by his by the woman that assisted his mother in giving birth to him, the doula. It Whether that's true or not, nobody really knows, because it happened so long ago. But these tales have stuck, and so this is known to be his birthplace. There's a brass plaque on a boulder out in the front yard that commemorates the house as his birthplace. Beyond that, it's a very simple affair. There are still people living there, and it has become somewhat of a tourist attraction. There are a few people that show up almost every year traveling through the area that want to stop by, basically just to you know do pay homage to whatever it is that perhaps they're a wizard themselves or an apprentice that and they want to stop by and pay their respects to the birthplace of Maximillian Tasidantilis. Number 8, at the end of the reef, is, of course, the Stauhagen colony that we talked about before. And there is a old shrine that is known to be in the woods just to the to the northwest of the on the point of the village. And there, especially late in the evening, many people will have witnessed several villagers making their way into the wood towards this old shrine. But nobody is quite sure what is going on at the shrine or why the villagers would be going there. But it seems to be a fairly common occurrence. So that is the village of Reef's End. Next time we will be talking about the island of Smuggler's Cove and the pirate king that currently runs it. Thank you for watching, and I'll catch you next time.